My name is Stacy Hawk, and I am Vice Chair of the Board. It is 10:45 a.m., and I'd like to call the January 22nd, 2025 Agency Operations Committee meeting to order. Please be aware that this...
Mary, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you. This meeting is being broadcast via the internet. I would now like to hand the gavel to Welcome Wilson, Chair of the Agency Operations Committee. Mr. Wilson. Okay, Mr. Wilson.
Yes. Welcome, everybody. Good morning. Welcome, Wilson Jr. I'm Chair of the Agency Operations Committee. Members, when I call your name, please announce present. Richard Clemmer, Vice Chair via Zoom.
Present.
Fred Frias, via Zoom.
Present.
Juan Navarez.
Present.
Ashley Thomas via Zoom.
Present.
Emma Wolfslinger via Zoom.
Present.
Luke Swartz, Student Representative.
Present.
And myself, Welcome Wilson Jr. Please record in the minutes that we have a quorum. Agenda item 2 is approval of the minutes from the October 23rd, 2024 Agency Operations Committee meeting. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes, please?
Motion.
I have a
Second.
motion by Mr. Clemmer, second by Emma. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No. If not, the motion passes. We'll move on to agenda item 3, which is public testimony. We do not have anyone registered to testify today, so we will go on to the next item. Agenda item 4 is consideration and possible action to approve the consent calendar. The consent calendar includes items that have been approved without comment or discussion. This allows us to save time for other items we need more of our attention, that might need more of our attention. The consent items are highlighted items in gray on the agenda. Members, the following item on the consent calendar is for consideration. Agenda item 5A, report on grants and contracts. Members, does anyone want to remove this item from this consent calendar? Does anyone want to add any non-rule items to the consent calendar? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Motion by Ashley. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say no. The motion passes. Agenda item 5A was approved on the consent calendar. Agenda item 5B is an update on the 89th Texas Legislative Session. Glenna Brune, Associate Commissioner for Public Relations, will present this item and be available for any questions. This item is for information only. Ms. Brune.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you, Commissioner, Mr. Chairman, Committee Chair, and committee members. My name is Glenna Brune. I'm the Associate Commissioner for Public Affairs, overseeing the Marketing, Communications, and Government Relations teams. I came on board in November, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this agency, working hard for Texas students, and I look forward to getting to know you all. As to the legislative update, it's been a full 2 weeks. We have started the 89th legislative session. We've had an inauguration, and we've had snow in Texas. So it's been full, to say the least. We are 9 days into a 140-day process, or as a dear friend likes to say, we've got 19 Fridays to go. Expectations and excitement are high, and as you've seen, we have a new Speaker of the House, Representative Dustin Burrows, representing Lubbock. The House gavels in today at 2, and the Senate will gavel in at 1 today. The House has not set any committees yet, but they're working on rules this week. The Senate did set committees last week, and we've had a combined new committee, the Senate Committee on Education K through 16. Commissioner Rosser is set to testify in February in front of the Senate Finance Committee. The budget was filed as of this morning, just in time for all of you. So Sarah and Anthony will be ready with an update on that tomorrow. We are actively engaging the legislature and setting daily meetings with leadership at the Capitol, as well as institution leadership and government relations staff. We've even bumped into the chairman on some of our walkabouts. We've set those meetings. They're garnering robust conversations about higher education and the coordinating board's role as a partner, advocate, and resource. And we've also enjoyed having Commissioner Roster get to meet all of our leadership. They're excited to be working with him and learning about his experiences and pathway through and around higher education. And just to refamiliarize on the legislative agenda that you all approved, we're sustaining our momentum with financial aid, research initiatives, technology modernization, building a talent-strong Texas, focusing on our credentials of value, workforce needs, educational attainment and affordability, and research and innovation and community college funding. Our government relations and other internal teams have been hard at work collaborating and tracking and analyzing legislation and legislator requests, which are coming in rapidly. We have thousands of bills. We are focused on working with the governor's office on legislative priorities that the board has identified. We'll continue to keep you updated on the work we're doing and the support from the governor and legislative leadership. And we also want to thank you for your support and your leadership and your vision for the coordinating board and for Texas students. Please let us know how we can support you during this legislative session. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
I have a quick question. The new Senate Committee of K through 16, what is that? What's its mission?
Yes, sir.
As compared to public ed and higher ed?
It will all be in one place now. So they have put those committees together. So all of it, I think what they will be doing is looking at different portions on different days. So they're still working out how that's going to function, but we are meeting with the committee on Friday.
Got it. So they combined the two committees into
Yes,
one.
sir, they did.
All right. Thank you for clarifying. And you say that have they appointed the chair and vice chair of that committee yet in the Senate?
Yes, they have. Creighton is going to be chair of that committee.
Great. And on the House side, they have not organized their committee. Are they likely to combine the committees on the House side, or it's really up to them?
It's really up to them, but hopefully we know in the next week what that looks like.
Great. Well, thank you very much and welcome on board. Day 9 of 140. I'm already tired just thinking about it.
We've got a long way to go, but it does help to look at it just in Fridays.
Great. Members, are there any other questions for Ms. Bruin, please? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you. Agenda item 6A is the review of the fiscal year 2025 financial report to the board. This item is for information only. Anthony Infiniti, the Chief Financial Officer, will present this item to the committee and be available for any questions. Mr. Infantini.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Infantini, the Chief Financial Officer. It's my pleasure to present the financial report. This report is the first 3 months of our fiscal year 2025, and our fiscal year began in September. 2025 is the second year of our 2-year biennium. So the prior legislature approved all our spending through August of 2025, and this current legislature is meeting now to determine spending from September through August of 2027. Since we're in the second year of the biennium, the report contains budget adjustments primarily for unexpended balances, or UB, which are authority to move budgets across years. These generally reside in our budget riders and impact movements of funds within the biennium. Last quarter, after the board adopted the rules governing the abolished fund, the Be On Time fund balance of $157 million was allocated among 32 eligible institutions. So this lowered the unappropriated cash balance you would see in the cash summary. But otherwise, there's no real red flags or major concerns in the balances. I do want to note that there are some appropriations with negative expenses in the first quarter, but that's pretty common because refunds from prior outflows are applied in the current year from a budget perspective, and that just might precede the expenses of the current year. Shifting over to our bond and loan portfolio, in October, the board authorized the issuance of bonds for the upcoming academic year. Since then, we've successfully reserved our volume cap to fund college access loans for 2025 to 2026, and are currently targeting receipt of proceeds in June or July. We're building a flexible calendar to adjust the issue somewhat to the extent that conditions warrant. And as expected, loan demand has been decreasing this year due to the full implementation of our manageable debt limits, as well as a continued uptake of the forward loan portfolio. We should have a better idea in the next few months on total loan demand as the spring semester information fully develops to help forecast the upcoming bond issue size. Also, want to note the bond resolution allows us to pursue refunding of our currently callable bonds to the extent there is sufficient savings to do so. It's not something we've done since 2022, as market interest rates have not been able to generate any savings to the portfolio. And in the current environment on interest rates, there is still no savings in issuing bonds at this time. But as always, we're going to continue refunding, continue to monitor, the economic conditions and primarily the 10-year Treasury yield. That's a good benchmark for our bonds and be able to react accordingly should conditions change around refunding. And that's all I have for you at the time. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
You bet. What is, you said we have a bond cap. What have we set that at? Do you recall?
I missed that. I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, you'd mentioned that we have a cap on the amount of bonds that we would issue.
Yeah.
Or
So
total.
by statute, we can request up to $200 million per year. Our last couple of bond issuances have been 140 million, 110 million, as we were kind of forecasting less and less due to the manageable debt limits. So at this point, we reserved $150 million, which is still pretty conservative given the overall decrease in demand. So we reserve that at this time, but we can continue to kind of lower that if demand does not materialize, or if we should have excess cash for any given from our prior issue that we have to by law make sure we kind of use that first for tax purposes.
Thank you. Is the total loan demand, the reduction in total loan demand consistent with the student loan industry at large?
It's different in the sense that we have the manageable debt rules that kind of limit how much we're willing to loan to borrowers. And that's really kind of the unique item we have with the college access loan. So generally speaking, I think we're leading the way as far as that goes, as far as putting those caps in on how much, we're willing to lend to any given borrowers. So we're seeing a little less relative to the market.
Got it. And I assume you said you're monitoring economic conditions. I assume that you would have to come back to the board before we would refund any existing bonds, correct?
The resolution allows us to refund, but it put the caveats on around the savings that have to be there. So we monitor the conditions to see if there are savings, and at that point we just keep you informed as far as if we are going to pursue it. To be frank, there's a very, very, very small likelihood that any refunding would be possible this year. It hasn't made sense in the last couple of years, and rates are a bit higher now than they have been in the past 2 years.
Right. So we've authorized you to do it, but only if it's warrants a net savings in cost.
Exactly. Yes.
Great. Any members? Any other questions for Mr. Infantini?
Yes, Mr. Wilson, I had a question for Mr. Infantini. So the bond council, how often do we review that?
Every 2 years.
Every 2 years. And when are we due up again?
That is going to be the next fiscal year will be. So we are just starting that process now for a request for qualification. So that process actually just started in the current calendar year, but it's a fiscal year. So we'll have a new contract. And if the goal is for September 1st to have a new contract. And we also have financial advisor contract that's 2 years, but staggered that's kind of on the following September 1st. So those are the two main items surrounding the bonds.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that for the board that I'm glad to hear you've already started that process. So we have some time to review that before we have to make those decisions.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions from the committee or other board members? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. Agenda item 7A is consideration and possible action to approve the updated internal audit charter. R.B. Gonzalez, Assistant Commissioner for Internal Audit, will present this item and be available to answer any questions. Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Chair Wilson, committee members, Commissioner. My name is Ari Gonzalez, and I'm the Assistant Commissioner for Internal Audit and Compliance. I'm here to seek your approval for our internal audit charter, which was last updated in January 2024. The internal audit charter is a formal document that defines internal audit's activity, purpose, authority, and responsibility. It establishes internal audit's position within the organization, and it aligns expectations between the board, our agency, and the internal audit function. It defines the scope of internal audit activities and authorizes access to do the work that we do. Professional standards require the board to review and approve the charter after important changes. We updated the charter mainly to reflect new internal audit standards that are effective this calendar year and to update the approval from Commissioner Rosser. This concludes my prepared remarks. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the committee or the board? If not, can I have a motion to approve the updated internal audit charter, please?
I'll approve. Emma?
Emma, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second, Rick.
Yep, thank you. All those in favor? Sorry,
Aye.
any discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say no. Motion passes. Agenda item 7B is the auditor's update on internal audit reports and activities. This item is for information only. RB Gonzalez, Assistant Commissioner for Internal Audit, will present this item and be available to answer any questions. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Please. present
Thank you,
your
Chair
report.
Wilson. Internal audits continue its progress on the internal audit plan. We have 2 audit projects in the fieldwork phase right now. The first one is audit of grants administration. Specifically, we're looking at the graduate medical education grant and an audit of academic program approvals. We're in the fieldwork phase, like I said, and what this means is we're reviewing supporting documentation, manuals, and taking a look at processes to determine if our agency is doing what it should. We look forward to completing these projects and updating you on the results of our audits. We are also following up on outstanding audit recommendations, continuing to update our process to meet our new standards. We're working on our quality assurance assessment to prepare for a peer review that's coming up soon. And we're procuring an external audit firm to augment our IT audit capabilities. I'm happy to report that we have filled one of our 2 vacancies, and we're working diligently to get another capable candidate to round out our team. This concludes my remarks, and I'm happy to address any questions or comments.
Yeah, you might take a minute to just describe the current size of your team or those involved. I know you did recently add someone.
Yes, our internal audit team includes 1 director, that's Edward Maldonado, and we have 3 full-time equivalent spots. We have Julia Josefina. I don't know if she's watching, but I'm sorry if I said your name, since I said your name incorrectly. And we just added another auditor, Lance Cofield. We have 1 more senior auditor position that we're looking to fill. And specifically, we're looking to fill somebody with IT audit or data analysis or analytics capabilities so that we can continue to adapt and grow with the agency.
Great. I would assume over time that as AI becomes more prevalent in our lives, we would need that in-house capability, at least on a cursory basis, I assume.
That is, a constant conversation that we have within our function. And then we're also following, the agency's lead on our policy, on what we're looking for, on how we choose to incorporate AI.
And I would encourage any committee members and board members that if you have any suggestions for internal audit with regard to the future of technology, we want to be ahead of the curve if possible. So any suggestions on that as to where we ought to be thinking in advance would be helpful. Any other questions for Mr. Gonzalez? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next agenda item. Agenda item 8A, 1 through 5, are the auditor's update on state and federal compliance monitoring reports and activities. This item is for information only. RB Gonzalez, Assistant Commissioner for Internal Audit and Compliance, and Paul Mayer, Director of Compliance, will present this item and be available to answer any questions. Mr. Gonzalez and Mr. Mayer.
Thank you, Chair and members. I'm Paul Mayert, Director of Compliance for Internal Audit and Compliance, and I'll provide an update on compliance activities since our last committee meeting. First, for state compliance monitoring. Sure. We completed 4 state compliance monitoring projects plus our quarterly corrective action status report since our prior AOC meeting in October, and each of the reports is included in your materials. I'd like to highlight one of these reports, the review of TEOG at Odessa College. This report includes multiple observations related to grant awarding processes and controls for TEOG. Our review noted issues related to residency documentation, minimum per semester credit hours, initial award maximum credit hours, existing bachelor's degree, and maximum total semester credit hours. As noted in their corrective action plan in the report, management is addressing the noted issues and has refunded $36,659 to the coordinating board. I'd like to also provide a brief update on Coastal Bend College. As discussed last quarter, this institution is receiving additional compliance monitoring due to various concerns related to a late fiscal year 23 audited financial report and the findings noted in that report. Coastal Bend College continues to cooperate in providing information. They timely submitted their FY24 audited financial report in December 2024 and have hired a permanent CFO. They have achieved some critical milestones with more work to do. As far as additional compliance monitoring at CBC, we completed a formula funding review with no observations. This report is included in your materials, and we also conducted Perkins reviews related to FY22 and FY23 with no observations. In addition, we visited CBC in mid-December to conduct a follow-up to prior Perkins recommendations regarding inventory controls, as well as to review TEOG matching and other state funds. Progress on financial internal controls and status of the now completed FY24 audited financial report. We continue to review the information that we received, as well as the FY24 audited financial report, which includes several significant findings. In our follow-up review of Perkins inventory control recommendations, we did find that although the prior recommendations were completed, we noted some issues in properly documenting inventory labels and inventory locations. We will follow up again to review their new inventory control system that is being implemented, as well as the issues noted. With regard to federal compliance monitoring, I would like to direct you to the details in your materials and note that we are working towards completion of GEAR subrecipient monitoring reviews this year and continue with other federal subrecipient review work. That concludes my compliance monitoring update. I'll be happy to address any questions you may have.
Thank you, gentlemen. Any questions for them from the board or the committee? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item. I will now hand the gavel back to Stacy Hawk to close the meeting.
This concludes the Agency Operations Committee meeting. The time is 11:09. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Second. Members, all favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Motion passes.
Great. Nice to see everybody. Stay warm.
You too.